Hey, what's up? It's Jeremy from Oxner Insurance, and welcome to Cyber Monday, where we're not trying to sell you stuff, we're trying to give you stuff. We're trying to give you the stuff as in value. Today's episode is about cyber insurance and the top 10 ways the bad guys might attack your transportation or trucking industry, business. So today we're going to go through the top 10 list, which I have. Yes, I will be referring back to my notes. But first, a quick story. The average cyber claim as a result of a data breach, according to ProWriters, is $4.24 million. What would you do if your transportation company was ransomed for $1 million and the claim played itself out to be the average of 4.24 million? What would that do to your business? Because many companies choose to not have a broad form cyber insurance policy. And hey, that's a choice. But let's talk about that self-insurance. I mean, we don't know what the upside of a claim could be. We don't know the high side. We only know the averages. We know that forensics costs are in the 20% or higher of most cyber claims, which means that the bad guys are on the network and you have to hire somebody to come onto your network and figure out what in the heck did these people actually do. So let's get into this. What could they do? Well, number one that we have is a data breach. Everybody's heard of the data breaches from all the big companies, but in fact, the smaller companies are actually the ones that are targeted consistently due to security issues and not as high a security. And a data breach is simply where information that you do not want to be public is now made public. And there's lots of fees and things that can be associated with that, including first and third party damages to your reputation, and then having to notify the clients that and vendors that their potential data has been compromised. And now you have to have a company that monitors their credit, and it is extensive, not to mention there could be legal fines, etc. Ransomware attacks, we all hear about these. A bad guy gets on the network, drops some malware software onto whatever system. Maybe you can't see the trucks. Maybe you can't pick up loads. Maybe you can't schedule. And what do? They require a ransom. And that ransom is usually in the form of some sort of cryptocurrency because it's typically untrackable. So do you have $1 million? Because we started with $1 million. Do you have $1 million worth of crypto just in case? Business interruption, again, pretty straightforward. I was reading some articles, and there are countless articles talking about the transportation space being one of the number one targets. And there's many reasons for that, but everywhere from trucking sites to universities to the federal organizations are warning about the uptick in data breach activity in cyber attacks for transportation companies. So it's not, an opinion of an insurance agent. It's actually, there's a lot of fact out there, which I thought would be important to add because, again, we're just trying to bring value. You can validate this stuff by looking, doing your own searches besides just taking our word for it. So business interruption, what happens if you're down for 9 or 10 days because your network won't come back up, you can't restore your systems, etc. If you don't have a broad form cyber policy, you probably don't have any coverage for that. Social Social engineering, it's easy for me to say, social engineering. The bad actor is on the network and he tricks an employee into giving them information that accesses bank accounts, for example. And now the bad guy can transfer money out of the bank account. Third party liability we talked about already. So that's part of the data breach. It can affect customers, vendors, and partners. You could be held liable for the damages for those documents being sold on the black market, etc. Legal defense costs, compensation, etc. It can get ugly. Supply chain attacks, pretty straightforward. What's the impact? Operational disruptions, financial losses, and damages to business relationships. This is the biggest one that we're finding now is telematics and Internet of Things devices. Everything is connected. And we're watching, we're getting video in from dash cams and all these sorts of things. Well, what if those things are used as an attack, a point of attack, or attacking the systems in the vehicles? That's why working with your MSP or your IT management inside of your company is absolutely critical to defending these Internet of Things devices to keep the bad guys away. Regulatory compliance is another one because if you're in a data breach, there are certain compliances that you have to adhere to. And if you are hacked, if you will, you could face regulatory fines and increased scrutiny from those organizations. Cyber extortion is another one. Again, we've talked about it. Extorting payments, costs associated with negotiating and managing the threat. Having a broad form cyber policy is going to respond. And you want to make sure that in this regard that you don't have pay on you don't have reimbursement. If you have reimbursement, that means you need to have the Bitcoin to pay for this extortion or the cryptocurrency or however they're asking for the ransom. Pay on behalf is the way to go, because that means that whatever the limit that the company that you've contracted with for your cyber insurance, that limit now comes into play where they pay the bad actor on your behalf. So whether it's ransom or extortion, we're not going to attack you versus the ransom, which is it's already on the network and they're strong arming you to pay the ransom. Those two can happen. And we talked about reputational damage because you're going to have to pay for reputation rebuilding through typically a marketing company that would be sending out through a campaign telling people that you've gone through these measures and you're more secure than you ever were. You've got early detection, whatever the case may be. Those are expensive as well. And so the broad form cyber coverage, we hit on it in a few of these cases, but data breach, so that includes for the first and third parties, including notification and credit monitoring. We went over that. Ransomware payments, data recovery related costs, forensics. We talked about business interruption. We talked about social engineering, where somebody may have pre-texted someone with a story that's not true. They gave up credentials and now bank accounts have been drained. Invoice manipulation is another one that would be considered, because if you're paying those invoices, if the bad actor's on the network and they figure out how that process works, they can change an invoice, they can clone an invoice. There's many ways that they can do that. And then regulatory fines and third-party coverage. We've hit all of those coverages. So hope that's helpful. This is kind of a long video. I think we might break down some of these specific to the transportation industry in the future. Maybe do a combo on extortion and ransom attacks. But those are your top 10. And boy, we just hope that you're working closely together with your IT or your managed services partner to put up a great cybersecurity plan, and that you have a broad form cyber insurance policy as well, because those two together will help keep your business safe from a cyber attack. So this is Jeremy Oxner with your Cyber Monday. Thank you so much for watching. Like and share the content, and we appreciate you. And here's to your success.